And now it's time for a preview of an upcoming game by Tom Vasel.
Folks, today I'm doing a preview of a game called Sushi Go. Now, this game was designed by Phil Harding from Adventureland Games. He designed Archaeology, the card game, which was a game that I really liked because it was just a simple, easy card game. Sushi Go follows in those footsteps. It's a very simple card drafting game that takes 20 minutes or less. Let me show you how it's played. As always, when I review a preview, remember that the artwork and components are certainly not final. The artwork here is pretty close, but you're looking at a prototype, of course. So let's take a look here. There's a deck of cards, and at the game takes place over 3 rounds. At the start of each round, players are going to be dealt a certain number of cards. So let's say you're playing a 4-player game. You would get 8 cards. So let's say these are the 8 cards that I have gotten here. Then I'm going to pick one of these cards that I'm going to keep. So let's say I decide that I'm going to keep the egg nigiri, or I could keep the sushi rolls, the 3 sushi rolls, whichever one. I pick one of those. I put that card face down in the middle of the table. I then turn it up at the same time as everybody else. I keep it. Then I take my whole hand and pass it clockwise, and that person then has 6 cards. They will pick one of those cards to put in front of them, as I do, because I got 6 cards. And you keep going until you have that many cards in front of you. So, I'm sorry, it would have been 7, not 6. In an 8-player game, you will then have 8 cards on the table face up in front of you. So let's talk about what these cards do, because most of them will score at the end of a round. First, you have these cards here, the egg nigiri, the salmon nigiri, and the squid nigiri, and these simply score 1, 2, or 3 points. Easy enough. Then you have the tempura, which by itself is worth nothing. But if you get 2 of them, then they're worth 5 points. If you get 3 of them, well, still worth 5 points because you need them in matching pairs. If you get 4, then you're up to 10 points. Then we have sashimi, which is just like the tempura, except you need 3 of them for it to work. And in this case, though, you get 10 points. With sushi rolls, you're going to count the number of sushi rolls that you have. There's 1, 2s, and 3s of the sushi rolls. And whoever has the most sushi rolls gets 6 points. Whoever has the second most gets 3 points. And those points can be split. So here I have 6 sushi rolls. Perhaps that's the most to get points. Dumplings. 1 dumpling is 1 point. 2 dumplings are worth 3 points, 3 are worth 6, 4 are worth 10, and 5 are worth 15. So those are useful in that regard. Now, wasabi, which as anyone who eats sushi knows is an essential thing, this wasabi here by itself is worth nothing. However, when you play a wasabi in front of you, you may play a nigiri card on it in the future, which will then multiply that times 3. So this wasabi multiplies the squid nigiri times 3. So instead of being worth 3 points, now it's worth 9 points. So you can use those judiciously. Chopsticks, when you put those cards in front of you, they're worth nothing. However, on a future round, you can say, go sushi, and then you can take 2 cards from your hand and play them on that turn. So you can put both cards out, and then the chopsticks goes back in your hand to the ones that you pass. At the end of a round, it's worth nothing, but it lets you play 2 cards from a hand. And then there are puddings. Puddings do not score at the end of a round. At the end of a round, all the cards are discarded, and you continue on. You draw so many more cards, 7, 8, 9, 10, depending on how many players, and you play cards. But puddings stay in front of you. All the other cards are discarded. At the end of the game, whoever has the most puddings will get 6 points. Again, that's split if it's a tie. And whoever has the least puddings will lose 6 points. Also split in case of a tie. At the end of 3 rounds, whoever has the highest score is the winner. I love sushi. It's a delicious thing to eat, and so it's a nice little addition theme to this card game. This card game is a very easy one for people to play because it's all about the card drafting. You simply take your hand and decide what you're going to try to get. But you also are looking at who you're passing the cards to and deciding, well, you know, they have 2 of that card. Maybe I don't want to give them a 3rd one. Or I mean, there's some, okay, I'm going to play a card or not play a card, depending on what my opponent does, but usually you want to take the card that you think will best help you. And you might go and say, I want to try to collect the dumplings, and then you don't get enough of the dumplings, and maybe that wasn't worth it. But in the long run, it's a very easy game. The puddings are pretty interesting because they really can swing the score at the end of the game. You can ignore them to your peril because losing 6 points just might be the difference between winning or losing the game. I very much enjoyed this game. Very easy, light filler, one that I liked. And in fact, the one playtest group I played it with, 12, 13, 14-year-old kids, they enjoyed it so much that they begged to play it again after we were finished. And I said, I have to get going, and I had to go to do something else. And they basically stole the game and went and proceeded to play it continuously until I finally had to take it away and go home. And that was a really telling thing for me how much they enjoyed the game. So if you're interested in supporting this game, in just a moment we're going to show you a link to how you can do that. And I'm very excited about this personally. Phil Harding does a great job on these light card games, and this is a very fun one.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.